discuss what we do. We have the capability in BoxLang AI to create pipelines. And pipelines is basically the fluent ability for you to create code that can create a pipeline, a chain of execution, right? You have an input, I can put a step into the chain, another step into the chain, etc. In this case, I can have input from the user, I can create a message, I can direct it to a model, I can do transformations and get an output. So this is where simple chats are not needed. We're getting funky. So a basic pipeline could be something like, hey, I have a message here. Here's my system instructions. Pipe it to the default model and run it. That's it. That's a pipeline. Okay. Very, very easy. I can flow and read and exactly what it's doing. Okay. All the basics for pipelines are here, by the way. So if you guys want to read a little bit of what basic pipelines are in the docs and in the instructions. Okay? So a pipeline stream as well. So here I can say the same thing as did before, but using a stream approach. Okay. Here's transformations. Here's where we start getting really, really, really nice. So I'm going to run this guy. BoxLang examples number 15. And I'll let it run. And what do? Well, we have a prompt and it says generate a recipe for chocolate chip cookies in JSON format with ingredients, return only valid JSON. System, you're a culinary expert, return only valid JSON, no markdown, Pipe it to the default model. And look at that. I have a built-in JSON extractor. So this is part of BoxLang AI. I can do as JSON, as XML, as Markdown, etc. And here I just did as JSON. So that means that the LLM will return JSON and it'll convert it for me and it'll deserialize it to BoxLang source code. Okay. And here I can just say, then when I get that data, send it to this transformer. So now I can actually get the response and send it to a transformer called recipe transformer. Models, recipe transformer. You can see that it extends the base transformer in BoxLang AI, has a single method called transform, and here's the input text. If it's a simple value, deserialize it. If not, use it. And then I'm going to augment what from the LLM, the instructions that come from the LLM to create all the sections that I want. And then you can even see that I have even a final tweak on that formatted recipe. And I'm going to basically add a fun header to the recipe. And then I run it. So when we look at this pipeline now, you'll see that here's the pipeline. It says, here your delicious recipe for chocolate chip cookies. So this was the last transformation that I applied. And then it basically manipulated that JSON information and created a nice ingredients, instructions, etc. So that's the power of pipelines. Power of the pipelines is that you can take a prompt, you can pass it in to whatever model you want, extract it as you see fit, and transform it as you see fit. I can also do structure output. Remember we talked about structure output? Same deal. I can basically pass that class and it will map it to that specific class. I can also attach tools to pipelines. So here I have another example where I create different tools and I basically say here, hey, here's my message for my prompt. Here's the system. I want you to send this to a specific model, but hey, model, I'm going to bind you with specific tools. So there's all this language going on available to you to create this fluency. So I can say, hey, model, the default model, because I can change the model to Claude if I wanted to right here. There, now it's Claude. And I'm going to bind Claude with different tools that I created, and then it's going to be responding. So that's the power of pipelines. And then a multi-model one, it's a really funky one. So I'm going to run that one and end that section. So I'm going to go to number 18. And here is a multimodality, multiple models, very funky stuff. Here is where I have a message and it says, hey, I want you to write code to, and I have a binding variable. System, you're a helpful coding assistant that will write the code and return it only. Pipe it to the default model, and I can even give it a name. Okay, so now the LLM knows that I have a coder model. And then I say, hey, I want you to transform this code when it comes in. So that response is going to be transformed into a variable called code. And then I'm going to pipe it. I can use to or pipe as you see fit, to, and then I can basically pipe it and create a new thread and say, hey, iMessage, review the provided code. See, the binding is going to be available because I did this. Now, in the latest version of BoxLang AI, I can completely get rid of that guy and just say underscore input, and it'll do it by convention, okay? But if you want to do it explicit, you can also do it explicit. And then I'm going to say, hey, Claude, this coder guy created this code. Can you review it, please? And then you can see here, what are you going to review? Well, the task is this guy. So you can even have something that comes from a user and says, hey, here's a task for you to create. It'll create the code, and then it'll do a code review for it. And here it is. Here's the code, and here are the recommendations. So look at that. It created my sorting code, and then I added the recommendations. So very, very easily, you can pipe and create these complex situations very easily. All right, I'm going to end with agents because I'm already reaching on the hour here. So I'm going to start with a basic agent. And a basic agent, all it does is I use another BIF called AI agent. I give it a name, I give it a description, and I give it instructions, and that's it. I've created my first agent. I can put this in a specific scope. I can use it in Wirebox and attach it to Wirebox, right?